Well, in this one, atheists read Bible verses. I want to read the one about Noah's Ark, the flood. Now, we're not going to read every single verse, but most of it, okay? Genesis chapter 6 is where it starts, and it came to pass when men began to multiply on the face of the earth, and the daughters were born unto them, and that the sons of God saw the daughters of men, that they were fair, and they took them wives of all which they chose. And the Lord said, My spirit shall not always strive with man, for that he is also his flesh, yet his days shall be 120 years. There were giants in the earth in those days, and also after that when the sons of men came in unto the daughters of men, and they bare children to them. The same became mighty men, which were of old, men of renown. And God saw the wickedness of men was great in the earth, and every imagination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. And repented the Lord that he had made men on the earth, and it grieved him at his heart. Now, if God knows everything, then he knew that this was going to happen. So he knew he's going to have to slaughter every single person on this planet except for maybe 8 people. Think about that. This God knew that he was going to slaughter, commit genocide, murder, millions, probably thousands, maybe millions of people. He knew it ahead of time. Think about that. And the Lord said, I will destroy man, whom I have created from the face of the earth, both man and beast, and creeping thing, and the fowls of the air, for it repenteth me that I have made them. But Noah found grace in the eyes of the Lord. These are the generations of Noah. Noah was, walked with God. And Noah begat 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. This Ham character is, racist whites will tell you that blacks are descendant of him. Because, Canaan especially. Because, it tells you about Canaan and Ham and Noah. Racist blacks will tell you that white people are descendant of this guy. And, of course, they'll tell you that white people are Edomites and all this stuff. None of this crap is in this book, of course. And then, of course, you got other nonsense that they would, these racist folks, they're pretty damn stupid. Let's just say that. I've heard, Jesus was black because the Bible tells you his feet were like the sand and all that stuff. And this book doesn't describe that mythical person at all. It does not describe what he looked like. He wasn't white. He wasn't black. Who knows? Who cares? He didn't exist. And if he did exist, he would look like the people in the Middle East. Now, of course, he had to build the ark. We're not going to waste our time with how it was built. Okay? It doesn't make sense because it only has one window. You'll remember that. It'll only have one window. Somehow, one window is enough. But let's go ahead and read this, and I'll go through, what I want to say. Then, of course, you got chapter 7. And the Lord said unto Noah, Come thou and all thy house into the ark, for thee that have I seen righteousness before me in this generation. Of every clean beast thou shalt take of thee by 7s. Remember, this is of clean beasts, what God considers clean animals. So it's not just 2 by 2, it's also 7. Unclean animals, it's 2. So, but let's see what is being taken, though. Of fowls also of the air by 7s, the male and the female, to keep seed alive upon the face of all the earth. For yet 7 days will I cause rain upon the earth. And the Lord came, blah, blah, 600 years. Noah was 600 years old. Remember this now. Never does it say take seeds or any plants. So with the flood, it would slaughter all vegetable life, right? Obviously, all this stuff. They went in 2 by 2 to Noah's ark, the male and female, as God had commanded. In the 600th year of Noah's life, and the 7th, blah, 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 and the rain was upon the earth 40 days and 40 nights. In the selfsame day entered Noah and Shem and Ham and Japheth and the sons of Noah and Noah's wife and the 3 wives of his sons with them into the ark. They and every beast after his kind, and all the cattle after their kind, and every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth after his kind, and every fowl after his kind, every bird of every sort. Notice it doesn't even describe, even hint at dinosaurs. You would think that this God would mention dinosaurs here at least to help his little Christian buddies. Then they had every beast after their kind. Of course, it never says what a kind is, and you'll hear people talk about cat kind, dog kind, wolf, all. Cats, leopards, all of them are cat kind, and chimps and all these stuff, primate kind, and somehow some magical cat back then and gave rise to all the leopards and lions and cats and all these things. How unbelievable that even sounds. It makes no freaking sense. And You wouldn't get that much diversity in 4,000 years anyways. And you can, read the rest of that. The flood was 40 days upon the earth, and the waters prevailed and were increased greatly upon the earth. And the ark went up upon the face of the waters, and the waters prevailed exceedingly upon the earth, and all the high hills that were under the whole heavens were covered. Notice this thing never ever mentions that it was a global, a partial flood. It's pretty clear that it was a global flood. And many of these fundamentalist Christians will tell you all the continents were together. 15 cubits upward did the waters prevail, and the mountains were covered, and all flesh died that moved upon the earth, both of fowl and of cattle and of beasts and of every creeping thing, blah, 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 and all the substance. And God remembered Noah and every living thing and all the cattle that was with him in the ark. And God made a wind to pass over the earth, and the water as waves, and the fountains also of the deep, and the windows of heaven were stopped, and the rain from heaven was restrained. See, notice this. And the windows of heaven were stopped. Because if you know about their beliefs, if you've seen these videos and you've seen actual drawings of how they believed the earth was back then, you'll notice that they believed that outer space was covered basically with water as under the earth. Earth was basically a flat sphere. You know this stuff, right? You can go to the Bible Skeptic and others too if you want to look it up. And the ark rested in the 7th month on the 7th day of the month upon the mountains of Ararat. And the water decreased continually. This is a year. It tells you that, the month of, and it came to pass at the end of the 40 days that Noah opened the window of the ark in which he made. And he sent forth a raven, which went forth to and fro until the waters were dried up from off the earth. Also he sent forth a dove from him to see if the waters were abated from off the face of the earth. But the dove was found no rest for the sole of her foot, and returned, and stayed yet another 7 days and again, And the dove came into him in the evening, and lo, her mouth had olive. Where in the hell did this olive come from? Please, Christian apologists, tell me where this olive could possibly have come from. Because if the whole earth is covered, all that would have, died. And I know what you're going to say. God done it. Right? That's going to be your answer. Now, here's the thing. What on earth did these animals eat while they were on the ark? And see, this is another thing people don't notice. Okay, these people are on this ark. Now, they're going to have limited food. There will be no food, no plant life, none of this stuff. All the earth is gone. Everything is going to be dead. All the plant life is going to be unedible, if there's anything. So what could they possibly have eaten? It would have been years upon years upon years before they've eaten. And if they eat meat, if they're eating meat, notice, it's 2 of every kind of unclean, 7 of their kind of the clean. Remember that? So do you think there would be enough animals alive for them to eat? Without them going extinct? So you think, and then of course they'll tell you with the dinosaurs, they were babies or they were in eggs. Yeah, prove it. They will tell you stuff you won't believe about dinosaurs. There's nothing in this book to even hint at dinosaurs. And again, the Bible skeptic does a pretty good job ripping that up. So I don't need to go over that again here. Because why copy what someone else has done? But Noah's Ark is probably one of the... if you want... I like the story of Noah. I like the stories in this book. I'm not going to lie, I do. I read the Bible all the time because it's a great book of mythology. I also like Greek myth. I like Greek myth more than I like Christian mythology. But, I still like Christian mythology. Well, feel free to like, subscribe, free to watch any of my other videos. And please don't take this Noah's Ark stuff seriously, literally, because you really think that enough people would have been... enough people in 200 years to build the Egyptian empire. And why is it the Chinese and the Egyptians don't say, well, we did this, and this. And all of a sudden a great flood came along, wiped us out. We came back and did this, and this. Because there are a lot of societies, like the Chinese Empire, that predate the flood. The Chinese Empire actually predates written language. I believe they're one of the oldest. Basically, not exactly continuing, but you know what I'm saying. One empire after another. China, you should really read the history of China. It's very, very interesting. I love Chinese history. And they don't mention none of this stuff. And people say, well, there's flood myths all around the world. Yeah, but they're not all similar to your flood myth. Not to mention many places like Navajo Indians, they have skinwalkers, basically shapeshifters. Well, most places around the world have a version of shapeshifters, like werewolves and vampires. So are werewolves and vampires real? And many Places around the world have versions of Bigfoot, Sasquatch, and the abominable snowman. Doesn't mean they're real, does it? And ghosts and paranormal activity. I mean, come on. Thanks.